Hello and welcome to NDC's live panel, Deafverse, behind the scenes. Before we begin today, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Kent Turner and I work for Deafverse. I would like to share a few logistics prior to proceeding with today's programming. We will be presenting in American Sign Language and have captions and access provided to you in live format and recorded. I am the game designer for Deafverse and want to ensure that access occurs for all of us. We have invited 4 panelists today, and you can watch us both here and the recording later. Please feel free to take a moment and see where your access options are. The caption button is located at the bottom. You can choose transcript. You can also chat while we are in our presentation. So without further ado, we will begin with our panel. Panelists, could you please join?
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'd like to give everybody a moment to introduce themselves.
I'll go first. Folks, hi, my name is Justin Perez, and I'm very excited to be here with you all.
Hi, I'm William. I'm excited to be here too.
Hi, my name is Carlisle Robinson. I'm very much looking forward to sharing space with you all.
Hi, I'm Britt Macias, and I'm happy to be here as well.
Excellent. This is the first time we have gathered together since ever, possibly. I think we've all connected individually in smaller groups, and it really is a pleasure to share this space. So we'd like to share a bit with folks who have joined us today about what Deafverse is and why NDC developed this game for high school individuals, graduates, and soon to be graduates that are either on the track for employment or furthering their education and can access a variety of different life experiences and learn about what the importance of self-advocacy is, what we want for our deaf future adults and decision makers to have. And my goodness, the stories that folks have experienced, lived experience, things that we've navigated as deaf adults, things that we've learned through our lives and how we can share them in a safe space with individuals that might not have access to it. And those lived experiences include navigating discrimination, ableism, figuring out how we access interpreters, how we speak out about our needs. And we actually have Deafverse 1 that's been in the works for several years and people have enjoyed playing it. And we've just released Deafverse 2. So we wanted to talk with folks about what the work feels like and what the difference is between World 1 and World 2, what you've experienced in reality and how it's been put into Deafverse World 1 and World 2 rather. So for folks who are deaf, deafblind, deaf disabled, and identify as a variety of individuals, what's the journey? And the journey that is from graduating high school all the way through the choices that you make in your adulthood, whether it be further education or being in the workspace. So we're going to share a little bit about behind the scenes, how the game was developed and how we traverse through this world. So I'd also like to mention that as a game designer, I majored in biology in college, which is completely off kilter from what you may imagine a game designer would major in. I then worked in a middle school for deaf kids and I focused on literacy, reading and writing, and I ended up as a game designer. And you may wonder how I got to this trajectory of my life. And it may be an experience that some of you had. You majored in one thing and you ended up here in something very different. Would anyone like to start?
This is just, why don't you go ahead, William? Oh no, okay, I'll go ahead and start. This is Justin speaking. Really, I have a deaf family. So growing up, we always signed ASL stories and that's always been a part of my life. I also went to a deaf school and I realized that I had a talent for storytelling in sign. And for A future career, I didn't have any plans that had to do anything with sign language. I just liked telling stories, right? I went to RIT. I was an ASL tutor for the interpreting group. And I would quite often be asked so that interpreters could observe me and work, and then I'd provide feedback to them on their interpreting work. And I was doing that. And then I got involved into what's called visual vernacular. And I realized I could use my signing skills in telling visual vernacular stories. And I wanted to continue that and share those skills and those gifts. So my work has been shared. And through that, Deafverse reached out to me. And that's how I landed here and have been a part of the team. Deafverse, I must say, has been a highlight of my ASL storytelling journey. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, I love hearing about that. Just through your natural talent and then building on that. And that's how that led to where you are right now.
Right.
It's not necessarily that you like studied to develop this role. So I'm a software engineer and I've been doing that now for, wow, time flies, about 8 years now. And really, I just, as a kid, thought I'd be a pro football player. That's what I thought I would be doing. And I wasn't really strong enough to do that. I majored in business in college. And I always, since high school, I really loved computers. I was into web design. I thought that was really interesting. And any sort of computer related things I would just really get into. I never really imagined that I would actually be working in this field until I graduated from college. And right before I graduated from college, can you still see me? Yeah, can you still see me? The lights just went off, but hold on a second. Let me get back to that. Okay. So right before I graduated from college, there was a project and I was building a website for a student organization on campus at Gallaudet. And I got into that, and the developer actually was who they had hired had quit. And so I was able to jump in and use whatever knowledge I had built in high school. And I really enjoyed it as this first project. And I taught myself the pieces that I didn't know. And one thing led to another, and just got into this big project with Kent. We had a graduate thesis game that he had been working on for a classroom. It was a classroom gamification system, and classroom of students, like if they're doing their homework or just something related to class, they'd have points and maybe they earn a soda or some sort of homework. They didn't have to do their homework as a reward of the game. So sort of gamification of the classroom. So that then was a stepping stone to being involved with Deafverse.
This is Carlisle speaking. William, you're the perfect person to work on that kind of project. And like many of these folks, I have had several different parts of my journey, and I got to this place and I wasn't sure if I really wanted to be an artist and draw comics and so forth, but I ended up working in the government after graduating from Gallaudet. And once I was really thinking about where my future lies, what would it be, education? Could it be as a teaching assistant? And the irony of me being in the educational system, I saw the love for cartoons. I saw the love for comics, for artistry. And why couldn't I really combine both? Why couldn't my love for being a deaf person and being an artist and education really take both? So I shifted significantly and went to grad school. I focused on my comics. I developed my artistry and really embraced the creativity that I have. And Deafverse was this incredible opportunity that I couldn't turn down. I never thought that I would be here today. And absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts, Deafverse is where I love being.
This is Britt speaking. I also never saw myself being involved in something like Deafverse either. I grew up in France, and my parents had a heavy belief in oralism, and I was mainstreamed. I was exposed to art early on. My parents happened to work at a museum, an art museum. They were there for almost 40 years, and I'd visit quite often. We also had a neighbor who was an art teacher, and I would spend evenings doing drawings and working on art. And that started when I was about 5 years old. I was familiar with art, and my mom recommended costume design. And I thought, why not look into that? So I moved to Canada. I studied costume design or fashion design. Then I returned to France because, of course, France is world renowned for fashion. And in looking through companies, I saw that there was work that I could apply myself in, but I doubted if it was really the right field for me. And coworkers expressed to me that I had very strong design and art skills. And through the deaf community and conversations, folks pointed out that certain skills were necessary, and I happen to have those skills. And I was thinking of going back to school, but instead I decided to get into a career, and I came to the United States where I met my husband. Moving here, I was thinking about getting into graphic design as a career. I was familiar with animation as well. And I noticed there was more of a need for animation. So I thought to myself, I should probably focus on that. And I happen to really enjoy animation. Then I found Deafverse, and Deafverse really catapulted me deeply into being an animator.
The common theme that it's never too late to really pursue an interest that you have and to not give up on that. And that some skills that we might have had in the past that lead to an opportunity that you would not have necessarily expected.
So I'm wondering who in the audience, maybe we can start with our first poll question. Who are you? Who's joining us today? What's your role? Share a little bit about yourself and what best describes you.
Do we participate in the poll too, or no?
We'll let the audience participate in this one. Thanks for asking, William. Just checking with my tech folks if I should wait until the poll comes up, and here we have it.
Oh, wow, mostly students.
Yeah, wow.
Beautiful. Many of you have this wonderfully bright future. So I've shared a little bit about myself, and folks on the panel have shared about themselves. And I'd like to ask you all, in this world too, we have created and developed this over the past year. And in 2019, unplanned, of course, was the coronavirus. And the revenge of the deep is something that we didn't plan on doing with a quarantine. And we realized that we needed to continue with this type of gaming because of the lack of access and the lack of ability to provide services to deaf folks. So Justin ended up flying out to Austin, and we thought that maybe we could start there, Justin, with your story about how you envisioned working with the team virtually, in person. You also mentioned having an ASL coach and how that works in a variety of different settings.
Sure, this is Justin speaking. When I was told we were starting on World 2, I was very excited to come to Austin. Austin is my second home. It's a great town with a great team, particularly. And they have a studio there where I had the support of the staff at NDC for filming. But then the pandemic hit, and I was told that I wouldn't be able to fly into Austin. So the vision I had of working with the team and all that was kind of like a bubble that was just burst. And so I started thinking how we could work through things. We did have a conversation with the media team at NDC who has a filming experience. We got together to see what we could do, and we decided on me filming myself. I was provided feedback on the distance, on the space, on the type of setting. NDC sent me everything, I should say, everything that I needed to film. Now, I didn't use a formal studio, but I was sent the supplies, and I had to film in a room somewhere else. I had an ASL coach. We also had ASL translation ready and supplied to me. The way it worked is I would get the ASL translation. I would look at the script. I would go ahead and sign it into a rough. I sent that into the NDC team. Once I got the feedback that it was cleared and it was okay, then I went ahead and started filming. I sent in the videos and started asking if my lighting was correct. And I kept having to test in different iterations until I was told by the team that the on-screen image was looking great. And once that happened, it was very exciting, definitely. I had to remember, because I filmed it all myself, I had to remember to look at the frame of the camera to make sure that it was always the same frame. Sometimes my hands would come out of frame and I'd have to repeat that piece of footage. And so there was a couple of videos that I had to take about 8 to 10 takes of it over and over again until I got it just right. And I was also had to keep an eye on how clear I was signing. When we were working in person, they were right there on the spot in the same room, and they were able to give me that feedback live in real time. But having to film it myself, it was a little different. I had to send in my videos, have the team take a look at them, collect some feedback, put some notes together, send it back to me, and then I would refilm. But regardless, it was a wonderful experience with a lot of processes built into it.
I admit, really, technology has been phenomenal. We were using Marco Polo as one of our apps to communicate back and forth. And if not for those communicative apps, I think it would have taken so much longer. Carlisle, you and I should probably share that we have never met in person. I think it's been since college that we've worked together. And my gosh, as an illustrator, and maybe you can share a little bit more of the experience that you had. And Carlisle is saying, when I joined the team working on World 1, absolutely, I thought Austin is going to be where I'll be. And even though we hadn't met in person and COVID happened, so we hadn't met in person again, we really took advantage of the technology that we had access to. And it was really nice to be able to send illustrations and to share our crafts and to use the apps that you mentioned, like Marco Polo, and to get feedback on all of the work that we were doing. When videos were sent out and then they were sent back to me with the finished product, it was amazing to see what could have been done without even being in this shared space together. It was really phenomenal. So it was nice to see from start to finish what could occur. And while we didn't create the game in person, the creativity that we were able to share electronically and virtually was really incredible. So we did all of the work, all of the brainstorming, all of the successes and the failures virtually. And I would have to say that, there was sometimes when I actually put a fake cardboard cutout of Justin so that I could create the illustrations and really envision what it would be like to have Justin in the same space with me. So really enjoyed the experience overall.
You did a great job, Carlisle.
And Kent is saying, some of the differences that may have occurred in World 1 versus World 2, you may have recognized the frustration, like you just mentioned, having a cardboard cutout of Justin versus the real Justin. And Carlisle is saying, yeah, it ended up like starting off as what am I going to do? But it ended up being so much fun. And then Kent is saying, to bring all of this to life, to animate Britt, game changer having Britt here. Before Britt came in, we were costume designers, and there were VR costumes that were being used to create virtual representations. So can you share, Britt, about that experience?
Yes, a lot of the work I did was post-production, and this is Britt speaking. So I would receive the videos, do color correction, add animation, provide some visual effects to bring the footage to life, to bring those characters to life, to bring the set to life, and to get all that really going. There were challenges. For example, I was asked to copy the same view. Like there's a particular wall that Justin kind of walks through, and I knew how to do that, but I had to do just a little more research, and I had to play around with the materials, and the end result was fabulous. And I really enjoyed having to face that challenge. And I'd say I'm always learning. It's a continuous process.
So I know that, William, there was an experience that you had in your own world being the behind the scenes coder. And I would love to hear a little bit about what you experienced, because you didn't have the same amount of information that all of us had, but you're such a critical part of this. So could you share a little bit about what you learned from World 1 and World 2? And as an engineer during the pandemic, what did you notice in your work environment, the shifts that happened internally with engineering opportunities during the pandemic? Did they increase? Did they decrease? What did that feel and look like for you?
William. Yeah, it's funny. I haven't been working in person, and from this sort of perspective from a distance, but I was still in touch with everyone every day, several times a day. So it gave me the sense of like being with everyone. It was still really nice, seeing everyone in person, also on recorded video. And when the pandemic hit, not really much changed for me, luckily, because my role as an engineer, and I'm working from home, and I've been working remotely with the project anyway for some time. So that really didn't really change. But one thing that did change for me once the pandemic hit, now I'm actually in San Francisco, but I stayed with my mom who's hearing, and that was a real big help, I have to say, because with one thing, for some time with World 1, when it first launched, the audio was really challenging for me because I couldn't hear what was happening in the game. If there were any bugs, I wouldn't know about it. And I was in San Francisco at home. I didn't have any hearing people around. And so I wasn't really able to get some help easily. I'd have to text someone to come and work it out with them to listen to the game for me. But when I was with my mom, and she would just be able to help me out. And I actually was able to work a lot easier on that part, to just have some support from her. So even just like some little piece of it, was a little bit of a struggle with the audio. So that was nice to have her around and be living with her in Southern California. But in general, I've just learned so much from working on the Deafverse project, and accessibility really was a key thing. I never really thought about the video and so the alt text and all the different choices that people would need to make in terms of their choosing their own adventure. There are no other examples of this kind of game. Most of them are based on audio and text. And so we're coming up with all this from scratch in terms of figuring out what people need and being able to match their accessibility needs and incorporate all of that into this game experience. At my new job, there's some video, and I'm applying so much of what I learned from Deafverse to this new workplace. So it's been really nice.
Kent speaking. And as we grow up, we don't have to commit to one particular job. We learn through these experiences and we build upon them. And that in turn allows for our skills to develop. And I think that goes for everybody who's watching. When you graduate high school, you don't have to pick one career and stick with it. You can certainly allow yourself access to a variety of things and give back to the world. And with that, I think we'll go with our second poll question for today. Do we have a second poll question we can bring up?
Justin speaking. I hope we get a lot of yeses on this question.
Oh, I hope you will
No.
be playing.
All right, that's okay. We can change those numbers. We can
Oh my
change that.
goodness. Yes, we should. We should. So I think just piggybacking on what William just said, as deaf folks, we request access and need access to navigate different parts of the world. However, we made something that requires access not only for deaf folks, but visual access as well for individuals who need more accommodations. And this was a learning process for all of us as well. And I wonder if, for those of you on the panel, do you wish that you had Deafverse when you were younger? And if so, for what reason? What type of impact would you think this would have had on you, especially being a deaf person, knowing that the game includes audio for folks who can hear? So we're really representing a variety of deaf identities. So you created this game, and the themes that you may see that are happening in the world today that are represented in the media for deaf folks, like just recently with the movie Eternals. It's a Marvel movie that's come out, and we're seeing representation of ourselves in those kinds of movies. The stories behind how deaf individuals navigate the world really affect folks. Like for AMC movies, they just recently announced they will allow for open captions in a variety of their movies. And I don't know the direct impact as of yet, but as a deaf actor or somebody involved in filmmaking, like let's say Angelina Jolie, who is a famous actor, she's shared the cues that she got for lasers and how the laser could be bounced off of a wall and then be seen. So Lauren was able to take a look at, when she was in Eternals, how she could access cues as a deaf person. So I'd like to ask for those of you to answer some of those questions I've just put out there. Carlisle speaking. If I had that game as a child, I can't even tell you how thrilled I would be, because number one, I would know that a job as an illustrator as a deaf person would be fantastic. You know, my parents freaked out when I talked about majoring in art and being an illustrator, and as supportive as they were, the ability to have that in representation would allow me to navigate a variety of different job choices. I mean, we created this. This is amazing. And it came from us, deaf folks with lived experiences. And the illustration and direction that we were welcome to doing, we didn't worry about, you know, I imagine having this as a child, I wouldn't have to worry about experiencing oppression on my own. I would have had this game to traverse and figure out. So while I didn't have it today, and kids today have, I'm so curious to see what they make of it and what their future looks like versus folks who didn't have it.
Not just Deafverse being for and made by deaf people, but honestly, just this real diverse group. And Omar also, I think, is the only white person. And as a kid, honestly, I thought as deaf adults, you know, I didn't actually meet a lot of role models like myself. I could count on one hand, TJ Jones. I mean, I know that there are more, but just not many Black, deaf, successful role models who were in the entertainment industry necessarily. I didn't have that. So it took a little longer, I think, for me to realize that this was something that I could really do and get into. And I did wish I had that kind of role model. And I hope that what we're doing really inspires kids to dream big. And so that's the big thing for me here.
Justin speaking. Go ahead, Britt. Britt speaking. I didn't see too many deaf peers or role models as a kid. And when I saw signs, of course, I was able to better absorb information and form deeper connections in relationships. I felt less connected to movies and games, but the instant signs are involved, or sign language is involved, it's a big esteem builder for me, and there's more of a connection. So I was a little confused, a little doubtful about careers in the future, but knowing that there's sign language in this game, I'm sure other youth will be inspired. And it also shows in the game what type of barriers you may face in the real world. And I wish I had known that before finding out in real life the hard way. The game provides a safe place for preparation, for knowing how to navigate these experiences. And I definitely wish I had a game like this when I was young. Just the fact that how the storyline works, everything about the game. Justin speaking. I share and mirror a lot of your comments. I wish I had the game in the past as well. I come from a deaf family, and my family wouldn't really fight to tear down barriers, but they would find other ways to navigate life. Not too much was accessible back when I was a kid. Times have changed. Also, schools sometimes don't teach how to navigate accessibility issues in real life, right? In school, for example, there are sports and extracurricular activities that we could be a part of. However, this game is different because this game provides those experiences in those situations. So teachers anywhere now can use this game in their classroom, and it's a fantastic tool for deaf youth to experience. I wish I had had that when I was young. I'm sure I'd be a different person. I'd probably be much more forceful when it comes to accessing my rights as a deaf person.
Kent speaking. For those who are in school and don't have access to really important information, a lot of things aren't discussed in the classroom, and this game offers those discussions, and you play it in a place that's meant to be safe. And if you were to make one choice versus another, perhaps you choose to be a mean character versus a supportive character, there are consequences and you learn them, so that if you haven't played, hopefully after today's panel session, you will play either World 1 or World 2. And before we move on, I would like to offer the third poll question. And we're hoping to see what you would like for the future. And you can put this in the chat, actually, for the future of maybe another world in Deafverse. What would you like to see from us?
Justin speaking. Carlisle, somebody has an important question if you look at the chat box.
Carlisle speaking. Which question? Oh, I'm so curious. Oh, I'm happy to respond to that. Thank you.
Please, no real hard questions, but no, I'm just kidding. Challenge me.
Kent speaking. Some folks have asked for more games on social media, different scenes, more representation of LGBTQ characters. And there is another character in World 2 who identifies as, I guess I should say, neutral identification, Carlisle, part of the LGBTQ family. And Carlisle, I'm seeing, is responding in the affirmative. And it's a super fantastic character. It's a lifeguard. And Carlisle's adding that we actually added a little bit of ourselves in there and little examples of diversity, including folks from the disabled communities, from LGBTQ communities. And when you choose your adventure, you build a lot more fun throughout the game.
Justin speaking. You mentioned there's also gender neutral characters. In working with that, I had to remember to kind of code switch and shift mentally for a gender neutral person, for a male character, for a female character. And I was able to do that based off the fantastic feedback from the team. So I really appreciate that.
Kent speaking. One person's asking how we determined the experiences on Deafverse, where you had video and audio. How did we make those decisions? And as a game designer, I have done a significant amount of research and tried to frame the experience as a deaf person. And before all of you joined the team, we had a group of game developers that were all hearing, and they developed some early models of Deafverse way back when. And they had a very auditory lens, and the signing was not accessible. It was really small. And there was no movement on the large screen. The text was huge, but the ASL was really small. So for me, that was a red flag. And with a deaf lens, that was the first thing I noticed. So I flipped it. And the really cool part about having Justin as a part of this, and playing different characters. The special effects are incredible. What Britt has added to the special effects and the sign language that Justin puts out and the illustrations that Carlisle adds to the game, this catbot that we have is incredible. And it allows for folks to experience a very visual world, a very visual game. So we wanted to make sure it was accessible for all. And each of the choices that you have throughout the game needed to be accessible as well, not just the main portion of the game. So as I mentioned, we have voiceover, we have visual vernacular, and we had to make sure that we created each of those separately and then spliced them together. So that's something that's always a work in progress that we continue to focus on. And I'm just double checking in the chat to see if there are any other follow-up questions. And somebody is asking where they can find the game. You can go to deafverse.com. It is free. You can create an account with an email and your username. You can choose between World 1 and World 2. And you don't have to play the first one in order to navigate the second one. Another question in the chat is what's next for the Deafverse team? What's next? And I'm sure that you could guess that we're probably working on World 3 or 4, and we'll tackle a variety of topics. And one of those examples is the difference between living and working and living and going to college. How do you ensure that you support the transition from high school to post-secondary and or to work? Let me double check to see if there is another question. I think the last one maybe we'll address, and then we'll go back to the panel with this question. What advice do you have for folks who are perhaps navigating this world, and what's your best memory of working on this? And I'll start with my memory working on Deafverse. I've never been in a pandemic, as I'm guessing most of us have not. I'm grateful for technology. I'm grateful for your patience. I am grateful for you being open to talking about health issues during the pandemic and respecting each other's time and really feeling connected in ways that I never imagined. So when we talk about advice and future goals and so forth, my advice is don't give up. Keep trying, because sometimes it takes a multitude of attempts to get to the place that you want. Listen to your heart, follow your passion, and really trust your intuition. It will always guide you to the right place. Do folks on the panel want to share their advice and or their favorite memory?
Justin speaking. My favorite memory was, well, I can look back to wrapping up and now the release. If I look back, it took about a year to film the footage. And it also took a few weeks for me to come back and actually complete the entire footage. I thought it would be much sooner, but the materials, the video materials and the footage is very rich because of the support and all the guidance that I received from the team. I think it's allowed me to grow, and my growth will continue. So that just working with the team is a highlight for me. What I'd say is if you're navigating life and you're unsure what to do, there's always help around you. There is help in any corner you look. You just have to open up and be willing to receive it. And you can have maybe your mom or a friend, anyone in your life. If you ask for help, I'm sure is willing to provide that help.
Yeah, and I think for me, a real powerful moment related to the tech, maybe not as interesting for all of you, but when everything finally worked out with the video, and the game was really challenging. There was about 400 videos just in one game, and it was just it wasn't necessarily one big video. Or I was trying to figure out how to incorporate the video because you don't want to have it loading for a long time. So should we have it be one big video or lots of smaller videos? So those are part of the decisions I was making with the coding, and this was all really new to me. With streaming video, you wanted to have it be much more smooth instead of loading, so you could have continuous play. And so once I was able to sort of break through and figure that technical piece out, I was able to then apply that to actually several other projects. So that challenge was really, in terms of the video loading and everything, was one of the most memorable for me in terms of technology, and one of the toughest for me to overcome. And let's say advice, right? Advice. Honestly, I think just, this one gift that I was, basically just a little goes a long way. Where anything you want to do, you think it's just this big endeavor, you're trying to get everything done and understand everything right away. Just take it piece by piece. Start small, start with something. And, every day you spend a little bit more time on it. And after a year goes by, you realize how much you've accomplished. And, you can just take one thing at a time, break one big project down into a lot of smaller pieces, and you'll get through it a lot easier.
Carlisle speaking, I echo with William. 400 videos actually create this one piece. And I remember that Kent actually gave us a flow chart of what's to be expected and how we would be split up in terms of our responsibilities, and where the choices happened from point A to point B, and how one player choice led to this versus that. And you could end up in this area or that area. So I had to illustrate for a variety of options, and just imagining all of the work that we put into it. I don't even know if proud is the right word that I can use. I am beyond words, because it was educational, it was fun, it was from start to finish such a learning experience. And like William said, 1 year to bite off all those little pieces that we could chew was really incredible. And my piece of advice would be, just from whatever we're working on, whatever we're studying, whatever we have done in high school and or post-secondary or through work, give yourself an opportunity to try different things. And if you don't like it, that's okay. You can apply some of your love for particular career or wants to something else. And this is a part of our journey in figuring out who we are and knowing our identity. You don't have to decide what you want to be. I'm 31 and I'm still figuring out who I am, and I'm going to enjoy the journey.
Brit speaking. I'll admit that with the pandemic, it has made our life easier, only because of technology. I used to have to work with a hard drive, which was kind of big and lunky, and I had to carry that around everywhere we went. But things changed. Files are now in the cloud. Being able to work on them as a team is much easier because it's all cloud-based. And having laptops over the years, well, I can remember 10 years ago when I started animation, I kind of gave up on it because laptops at that time were underpowered. If you went to export a project, it'd take forever. So I kind of lost interest. Now with the new laptops, it's really made my work much more enjoyable. They're much more powerful nowadays, these laptops, which have streamlined things. Now, my piece of advice, what should I say? Things are much more accessible. Like, for example, YouTube, well, everything really, TikTok, and so on, and all those types of video platforms. You can learn from almost anyone, almost anything. And if you have a question, ask the internet. You're definitely going to find an answer there. Also, I'd say start small. Work on small projects, and they'll scale up. Eventually, with time, you'll develop the skills and take on bigger projects. That's my piece of advice.
Kent speaking. This is fantastic advice, and we have to wrap up soon. I'd like to also mention that there's some more questions in the chat that we will follow up with later, and to share that Deafverse is not the only tool that we have available. There are things that are made possible and Deafverse could not be done without the support of NDC, and a small amount of the funding that we receive goes to Deafverse, and if you check out the nationaldeafcenter.org, there are a variety of resources that we have to provide. And if you like more information that's either about accommodations or learning or deaf people, what have you, we have a variety of resources that you can get from our website. If you need to contact our help desk because you have issues at school or with work, please feel free to reach out to us. We can provide you with other resources. We are so grateful to NDC for making this happen. We couldn't have done it without you, and we look forward to a continued partnership. And I just wanted to double check to see if there are any other questions or final comments that folks have on the panel. Again, for folks who are looking for CEUs for RID credits, the code has been shared in the chat. And it looks like we have 4 more questions. How can the deaf community help you out? How can we support you is the question. How can the deaf community support us more? How can they become more involved in Deafverse?
This is Justin. I think the main way that the community could help is via social media, because Deafverse is an incredible tool. So if you can share Deafverse on your social media, that'd be the biggest strength and the best support you can provide. If you know someone at school, quite often I do visit schools and I ask, have you played this deaf game before? If the response is no, I say, check this out. And then kids get really excited. And so creating that excitement and creating the buzz, I think, is what will help.
Ken, absolutely. I second that. Carlisle speaking. Absolutely. Share on social media. I often talk with my friends and family, and there's only so many different ways that I can say a deaf team created a video game. How incredible is this? So I always share that. And I know that the game is intended for youth, but really it can be enjoyed by a variety of ages. I've actually learned things and tips that I utilize because I was a part of this team. So I hope all of you do truly enjoy this game.
Justin speaking, I agree
Sorry, I
with
missed
that,
the
Carlisle.
question.
Rich speaking, I agree. Social media and continuing the buzz. Just talk to folks about it and spread the word.
Ken speaking. And for those of you who responded to the poll that you had not played the game, please play it and share it with your teachers, with your classmates. It's really an incredible game, an incredible resource to share with your class. Oh, and Carlisle, you wanted to add? Carlisle speaking. We also have GIFs and memes shared on Twitter. There are some options that you can share Deafverse. Please feel free when you see something, create your
check
own.
out hashtag Deafverse.
Create your own GIF from the game, share it. Utilize your own creativity when sharing social media, because who knows, maybe you'll end up creating your own game. Kent speaking. We also have some activities that are printable, and you can do some self-analysis and a lot of journeying through your own identity and so forth. So there are a variety of activities you can download, you can do with your family, your parents, your classmates, your friends, and so forth. I'd like to say thank you for the panelists to join us, especially with your busy schedule. All of the attendees, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you have learned a bit and will enjoy playing the game if you have yet to.
This is Justin speaking. Your homework assignment tonight is to play Deafverse. Go play the game.
Kent speaking.
Take
Touche,
care.
Justin. Take care, everybody.
Good night. Bye.